Hello everybody and welcome to Robin's TV Extra Time. I'm going to level with you. There was a script written for this introduction and then Hayden Roberts went and scored a last minute winner and just about changed everything from this evening's game. Bristol City left it late. They left it very late indeed. But the most important thing is they are up to 5th in the Championship table after beating playoff rivals West Bromwich Albion here at Ashton Gate 2-1. Courtesy of that last gasp winner. We've got goals, we've got a red card, penalty shouts, just about everything you want from a game this late in the season. And to go through it all, to debrief it, we've got Joe Burnell alongside Leroy Rosenior. Just take a moment to breathe and let that all sink in. What a game, Joe. I mean, what were your thoughts?
Well, it was an absolute roller coaster. As you said, it literally had everything, and it was literally exhausting watching.
Yeah.
And you talk about being exhausted. The players certainly gave it their all, and with a lot of quality as well. Just a great watch, all round fantastic game of football.
Yeah.
And to come out with that last minute winner as well, literally last minute, it was quite amazing.
It's as late as it could be, right?
I thought it was the last kick of game. People were saying last kick of game, then they kicked off again, they got nervous again. And then it was at the end of the game. Look, football's an entertainment, and that was extremely entertaining. City deserved the win, with Joe and I saying that they were the better side, and almost threw it away. It was down to their own incompetence, let's say, for the goal that West Brom scored. But what a night at Ashton Gate, you know. And we said before the game about it being an evening and being summer, and being the feeling, and for the players to embrace that and lift their performance, and they did. To a man, they all lifted their performance physically. They ran themselves into the ground, technically brilliant in terms of their passing. You know, at times was absolutely outstanding. They fully deserved that result.
Absolutely, left everything out there. I think we'll see that in the clips. We'll take a look at first half, second half momentarily. We'll do we'll start as we always do on Extra Time, just by taking a look at the stats really before we get into the picture and the emotion. Just highlight, some of the areas here. I mean, the one that stood out to us just looking at this a few moments ago was that XG one, and that surprised us.
I was a little bit surprised. Then we're trying to work out the opportunities. First half, Naki had a chance, and McCrory had a chance with the keeper saved. And then second half, you think that the Dickey chance was a good chance, but it was the Armstrong one, from 6 yards out.
Yeah.
Where he just got a toe. I think Naki had the penalty shout at one end, was it? And then it went down the other end, Joe, was it?
Naki actually had a chance himself, which I thought for Naki,
right,
he'd be disappointed to hit it low. Keeper made a good save with his feet again. And actually, the Armstrong chance, had Naki finished, wouldn't have come around.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great chance. He didn't quite get there, did he, Armstrong?
No, didn't quite get there. But then you look at that and it says the game was fairly even, but it wasn't, because City's possession was much better, and it was in front of their back four, where their possession was in front of our front line. They were just passing it in front. And you made a really good point of like Earthy, Bird and Naki Wells doing a really good screening job. Just making them go side to side where they couldn't pass forward. They were looking to pass forward and they couldn't pass forward. They then would force it and City would win the ball, whereas Bird and Earthy, when we had possession, got in some great areas, some great little pockets of space.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at that from the first half then, maybe, just before we get into all the drama that came in the second. Because you're quite right, there was some really neat build-up play from Bristol City. As you say, there was a sort of control to what we were doing. Without creating that clear cut chance, there were some really good moments, say, between some of those players in the first half, and we've got some clips to illustrate.
Yeah. I mean, the thing was that, Joe, because we were trying to work out what formation they're going to play, and they played 4-3-3, and what I like, the players worked it out. You see, like George Earthy calling for the ball, and what he needed to do was hold his position. He went in low and gave up possession of the ball. This one, again, on the other side, in that half space, as they call it now, I call it a little space in between the lines, he gives the ball away. But then you see that they held their position, and look at George. Now he holds his position. They find him, and he can get turned. And now the midfield for West Brom can't get back at him.
Well, for me, I didn't think West Brom knew how to deal with it. The centre halves weren't stepping up into it. The midfielders, which they almost had 4 central midfielders playing in midfield at one time, they weren't picking up either, drop in or communicate. So every time it was on, as long as we made that pass between the lines, we had success. And back to playing well again. Earthy and Bird both great in possession, on the turn, threading it up. And whilst we didn't quite have as many chances early on, we were very dominant first half.
We were, and the reason why Earthy and Bird played so well is because of McGrain. Because when he got the ball, he was getting the ball, drawing 2 or 3 West Bromwich Albion players. They think they can get it, and then he found that pass and they can get turned, and that's what created the space.
And I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because obviously that was probably the only real talking point from the team changes, team news rather, from Saturday to tonight, was that one change. Joe Williams dropped out to bench, Marcus McGuane came in. Not started actually a game since last December.
I think he deserves a lot of credit to go into a game with so much riding on it, so much pressure, full house, and to play at that level of performance. I worried actually second half whether he would drop off physically, not played for a while, but he didn't. In his fairness, he continued, and he was really fantastic. Like Leroy said, some great touches, kept the ball moving, defensively very good, and I just think the shape at the moment, the shape we have with the ball and without it, is working. And even with substitutions coming in, everyone seems to know their role, everyone seems comfortable, and actually for the first time in a long time, many years here, we look like a team you wouldn't want to play against.
Yeah, it must be a nightmare to play against them because you close them down, and I think 90 gave the ball once away in the first half, and then straight after he did a little bit of little skill, got out of it, because that's confidence. But when you've got that in your locker, and what you do, you take 2 or 3 players out of the game, and they're left floundering, and the next thing, find a pass, which they do. And City got into some really good attacking positions because of it.
Absolutely. Well, one of those was Naki Wells, of course. He's on a hot streak at the moment. That's his 10th goal of the season now tonight. Let's take a look at it, because this is just pure striker's instinct, isn't it? I mean, Leroy, you can sort of talk through and appreciate what we're seeing in this.
Well, firstly, he's on the far post because he's waiting for the cross. It happens to the right position. Recognise the cross isn't going to come, that they need a face, so he just shows up on the corner of the 18-yard box. But my word, there's still a lot to do. It's the ball into him is just the right side, and that's key. I don't know if Pring is aware of it. He just flicks it with the outside, but it's the right side, so he could just lean into Holgate, get him turned, and he never looks at the goal, Joe.
For me, I think his strength as well here. Yeah. If you think now, he's bodied him off, put him on the front, and then to execute that straight after pushing someone off balance is. And this is just. I thought it was faultless. I mean, that's a perfect goal for me.
I did say before the show, Naki's going to be important because those moments you want the ball to drop to him. That's not really a chance. Adam's really low sheet. Yeah. But those that just ignited Ashton Gate and saw what it done to the players confidence lifted. By the way, everybody's saying he can only last an hour. He lasted 75 minutes. He could have gone 90 minutes, but they're looking after him. It's the right decision to take him off. They're looking after him. He looked so sprightly. He looks full of energy tonight, didn't he?
He was full of running, and I'll tell you what, he did very well because both of those centre halves for West Brom really struggled against him.
They did.
I can't remember too many times he had a clear header. He was bodying the ball down. He was secure in possession. I thought he was fantastic tonight.
Yeah, he was. He was certainly about it, wasn't he, in the box? And we actually see a penalty shout in this next clip here. Now, there were 2 across the game, but this perhaps is the one where there may well have been a chance. So this is Naki sort of getting bundled over the ball as he bears down on goal. What's your reading on that? Just taking a look at the picture now.
I personally think his touch here just lets him down, because if it had been that little side, then it definitely would have been a penalty because you had to come through the man, but it just gives the defender a chance here.
Yeah, and he loses control of the ball. It's not, if it's within his controlling distance, then Holgate's pushing him off the ball. Actually, Holgate is actually in control of the ball because he's down his line. Yeah. So all he's doing is just holding his position, really. It looks worse, but I don't think it's a penalty. I didn't think it was that.
Okay. Jury's not sold on that one, right?
even though Bristol City fans around the world were disagreeing, I didn't think it was a penalty.
I mean, I was sure, but I think you can. It's one of those, and it's sort of coming together, the 2 players, but it's one of those. Let's take a look at the equalizer then, and this is part of the game really where I think that happens, that penalty shout happens, and then this is virtually a minute later. So West Brom go down the other end to get their goal, and it was a point in the game really where you just felt West Brom were just eking back into this. But Max, Cam, they're not going to want to see that again, are they?
No, I don't think so. It was a mix-up. It was a gift, really. I mean, we all played so well, and it's purely down to communication there.
Yeah.
Sadly, Pringy doesn't know, I don't believe, that the keeper's coming, even though he's got a full sight there. I just need a louder shout.
He does need a louder shout. I'm just thinking while I'm watching it there, when the ball goes back, they've done everything right, the back 4 in place. One thing they could do is be 10 yards further up the pitch.
Okay.
When the ball's being played in. And I don't know if that was fatigue. I thought they were looking really lively there. But as the back 4's in place, the ball's, Earth is pressed, I think Naki's pressed, the ball's being played from 15 yards inside the own half. They're a little bit deep because really, if they're running back, they shouldn't be running back in their own back box. It's being contested.
Yeah, exactly. It should be easy.
So that was the first mistake. The second mistake is it's the 2 mistakes lead to a goal. 1 mistake, fine, you get away with it. 2 mistakes, second mistake,
you get punished.
You get punished, and that was a problem.
Yeah. Well, to his credit, and we've got a couple of clips here that will illustrate. Max actually made some really important saves that kept Bristol City in this game.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely.
Yeah. Certainly one near the post, back post, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, this lad Fellows came on, and I'm saying I don't know why he was on the bench, because he was absolutely terrific. I mean, this is a really good one, because he's diving towards the post, and he'll be aware of that. So he makes sure he makes sure he gets his hands in front of him to make sure that it doesn't go over the line. He goes behind the line and he makes sure that he punches that out. So that was a really tidy. And I know, people think, it's not. It's a more difficult save because he heads it down into the ground, and he's got to read that, hasn't he, Joe?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why I thought it was really good.
And this was a terrific move by West Brom. And I suppose you were talking about their XG. That's a really good chance.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, it's a poor finish, but what he does, he stays calm. I see so many keepers dive out the way of those things. Yeah, they try and anticipate. I know it sounds silly, I've seen it so often. Keepers try and anticipate, but what he does, he holds his ground, makes sure he gets his knees down, his hands down, and just gets good. He can't hold it because there's too much pace on it, and gets it away from danger. So look, he redeemed himself with those saves.
Like one comment you might say is, the ball's straight at him, but you'll see from, I'm sure we'll go into it now, the winning goal, the ball again straight at him. So no, Max does really well now on both occasions.
Absolutely. Well, there was another key moment still in the sort of late stages in the 86th minute, where, as we saw in extra time or in the full time, the ref going into his cards and pulling out a red for Jason Malumbi. Now, this is, a contentious moment in many ways. We'll see it here as it plays out on Joe Williams. Again, you're reading on this, not entirely sure that was a red card, a straight red card.
On the first viewing, I think the referee's given intent. So what you don't see before here is obviously their players on the floor for circa about 5 minutes, and I think they were expecting us to kick the ball out of play,
yes.
Which of course we didn't do. We kept possession. So through frustration, if you see there, whilst the contact wasn't there was certainly an intent. I think that's what the referee's seen and given a red card for. You can certainly argue it wasn't a red.
Yeah, and what the giveaway is? If you see Joe Williams, he's holding his face. He's not holding his leg because he thinks he's been. There's been no contact on his leg. If it was on his leg, he'd be holding it and writhing around. But he's holding his face because he doesn't feel anything on his leg. The referee doesn't see that from his angle. You can imagine his angle. He just sees a high foot in around his knee area. So you can understand why he gave it, but when he looks back on it, he'll realise he might have made a mistake.
Again, it's one of those, though, as a City fan, as a supporter, you're not going to complain too much.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Game-changing moment.
It was
exactly. Part of the game.
And this then, very late on, you can just feel that momentum shift. If anything, West Brom had it probably up to that point.
Absolutely.
It then turns, and then we start to see, that pressure, relentless, in the wide areas, the ball's getting crossed in, and that ultimately allowed, Hayden Roberts to pop up.
That's what I really enjoyed, is the fact that, whilst we were in the momentum, we carried on passing it, as you'll see in this clip, wave after wave. But it wasn't just an endless ball in the box, it was with quality. There you go.
Yeah.
A pass, bit of composure, and element
just
of luck for us there.
This moment, I mean, obviously, Leroy, you and I were in here, we were in the studio, we're going berserk, you're on commentary, Joe. I mean, you even said the noise was something else tonight.
It was literally deafening. And that wasn't just Alex commentating alongside me. That was, the roar of... I haven't heard anything like that for some time here.
Do you know what I like about this, Joe? We talk about tactics and formations, and it's got absolutely no. It's about just desire to go and get the result, do what you have to. I'm not sure if this takes a deflection, through DK's legs. It might have taken the slightest of deflections, but you saw there all the coaching stuff, all their iPads their pads went flying because they knew it's nothing about tactics, about just the desire. Hayden Roberts, who's playing left wing back, ends up on the right hand corner of the box scoring a goal. Dickey is on the edge of the box playing like a midfield player, playing it into him. It's about desire and saying, look, let's go and make something happen, and that's what they did.
I think they showed that all night, and I think the character, and I think Liam Manning alluded to it before, there's no egos, and you can certainly see that at the moment in their play. And there's a real togetherness, and I haven't seen it for many years here, actually, since the last got promoted. It really sense it.
It just feels like something's brewing, doesn't it? Maybe that's just the fan in me speaking, but it feels like there is momentum, there's luck, certain decisions going our way. We talked about it at full time. There's a lot of fans now that are going to be looking at this table, and we're going to show it up in just a second. There's a bit of belief.
There's a belief, and you've got a squad of players who care about each other, and they really do care about each other. When things aren't going well, they stick together. When things are going well, they're really pleased for the people who've got the plaudits, and it's all natural. George Worthy, he gets the 2 goals. You saw the delight, but they were generally just pleased for him because he hadn't played.
Yeah.
Hayden Roberts, he even looks a little bit embarrassed, and they're generally just delighted for him, and that is something that you have to create that culture, and that's what gets you through games. When if I'm Joe's mate, I ain't gonna let him make. If he makes a mistake, I'll make up for it, and it's just natural. I don't want him to suffer, and they've got that in abundance. And I just see that in this Bristol City team compared to the Watford team, compared to the Norwich team, and compared to that team tonight. Actually, I think the good individuals, technical individuals, do they really care about each other as much as the City players do? I don't think they do, and that'll take them a long, long way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at this table then. Let's drink this in because, like you say, it's been many years where City can say at this point in the season they're right in amongst it. Well, look, you can see it there, up to 5th as a sort of by virtue of this evening's results. 41 games played, 63 points, and you can see there Middlesbrough this evening, I think losing to Leeds United. Leeds United doing us all a bit of a favour, so they stay on 60 points. But you can already see that as just obviously commentary tomorrow night. But there's now a gap. I mean, West Brom probably seeing them off there really in terms of their that's a 6 point. It's a healthy gap to have.
It is, and it's given us a bit of distance. It's an old cliche, but the biggest game's the next game, right? And we have to, if we as long as we deliver those performances that we have done over the past couple of months, we should be there or thereabouts. Was it six games left now?
5 games.
Five games to go. 5 games. I mean, look, a couple of weeks ago it was down to, we were talking about down to 13th. Yeah. And now we're saying down to, let's say 9th, really, realistically. Yeah. And I'm talking from Bristol City's perspective, not Middlesbrough's perspective. I'm talking about Bristol City's perspective. That's all we need to worry about. But Joe's absolutely right. The next game is winnable. It changes how teams set up against you as well. QPR would have seen City's results, they would have watched them. And maybe earlier on in the season they might have been a little bit more attacking, but they'll say, you know what, we've got to make sure we do. Got Earthy and Bird in there, that gives them so much more to worry about. City don't have to. They one change today, Maguire, but don't expect too many changes. I know he's talking about saving people. Do you know what? They'll be flying. They'll want to play. They'll all want to play on.
Absolutely. And you mentioned QPR. That is the next game, of course. That's this Saturday. Bristol City return to action. 3:00 kickoff. We'll be live here on Robins TV from 2:30. City have got it all to play for. All in their hands now. QPR probably less so in terms of where their season is. They don't look like they're in any great danger of going anywhere. They're not going down. They're not going to really contend for anything else, competitively. What sort of dynamic does that create in terms of the game, in the context of it?
I just disagree with you there slightly. I think QPR on 45 points. And I think that they're 41. I think is the team in the rally. They've still got the first fight. They went through a phase where they were thinking, they're going to get in the players, and I think they've gone 8 or 9 games without winning the game. So they have got plenty to play for. But you know what? They'll be more nervous and they'll be more edgy. And having played at Loftus Road, you played at Loftus Road. Our City fans will love that. Yeah. They're going to go down. They're going to take the full allocation, the big following. The noise is because it's such an enclosed ground, a tight ground. It'll make a great atmosphere for the lads, and the lads will enjoy going there and playing there. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Final word from you, Joe. Is it on?
It's very much on. As I said, it was an exhausting evening with the ups and the little downs, but it's a great watch, and there's some fantastic football, some great performances, and it's really a pleasure to watch at the moment.
Absolutely, it really is. Yeah, what a time to be associated with this club. Players, coaches, supporters. It's it feels like something special is happening. Hopefully they can continue that this Saturday. Leroy, Joe, thanks for your thoughts this evening. Thanks for joining us here on Robins TV Extra Time. Yeah, we'll be back this Saturday, of course, for the trip to West London. Bristol City take on QPR. Big game, of course, in the push for the playoffs. We'll be on air from 2:30 for the pre-match show. Do join us then. We'll see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.